For decades, the Sprite 400 was the symbol of the British summer holiday. From Cornwall to Skegness, this tiny cream-coloured caravan gave ordinary families something they had never truly had before: affordable freedom. But despite once filling Britain's roads and campsites, the Sprite 400 has almost completely vanished. So how did Britain's most iconic caravan disappear forever? To understand the Sprite 400, you have to understand the man behind the curtain, Sam Alper. He was a man who didn't believe in glossy brochures or polished showroom floors. He believed in the grit of the real world. In the early 1950s, the British public was skeptical. They looked at these lightweight aluminium boxes and saw something flimsy, something that would rattle apart on the first pothole between Birmingham and Bournemouth. Sam Alper knew that to build an empire, he first had to build trust, and he chose to do it in the most spectacular, high-stakes way imaginable. In a series of legendary publicity stunts that would make modern marketing teams tremble, Alpa took his early Sprite models where no caravan had any business being. He famously towed them across the brutal, roadless furnace of the Sahara Desert, and on high-speed, bone-shaking endurance runs across the jagged peaks of the Alps. These weren't just drives, they were trials by fire. Alpa was showing the world that a Sprite could survive a North African dust storm just as easily as a wet weekend in Skegness. By the time the Sprite 400 arrived in 1960, it already carried a reputation for being British-built and bulletproof. But Alpa's real genius wasn't just in the desert, it was in the pocketbook. He looked at the post-war British family, people who were tired of austerity and hungry for the seaside, and realized they didn't want a land yacht they couldn't afford or tow. They wanted a passport to the weekend. He set a goal that seemed impossible: a caravan for the price of a motorcycle sidecar. When the Sprite 400 launched at just £215, it was a masterclass in clever, no-frills engineering. It was a 10-foot gamble that the British public valued freedom over finery. As the orders began to flood the Newmarket factory, it became clear that Sam Alper hadn't just built a caravan, he had kick-started a revolution. Step inside a Survivor today, and you are instantly transported back to a world of formica tables, vinyl flooring, and the soft, amber glow of the gas lamps. The Sprite 400 was a masterpiece of compact living long before the term became a modern buzzword. It was a marvel of origami-like precision. Within its tiny 10-foot frame, Sam Alper's team had miraculously squeezed in a kitchenette, a wardrobe, and enough bunk space to sleep a family of 5. It was a masterpiece of packaging that defied the laws of physics. It was cozy, intimate, and, on a rainy night in Cornwall, delightfully cramped. You didn't just stay in a Sprite 400, you lived in it, every square inch of its body working overtime to keep the British summer at bay. For a child of the 60s, the sensory experience was unforgettable. It was the distinct clack of the plastic cupboard catches, the cold touch of the metal window frames, and that quintessential scent, a mixture of damp wool coats, calagas, and the inevitable fry-up. The 400 was designed specifically to be light enough to be towed by the new hero of the age, the BMC Mini. It democratized the holiday, proving that you didn't need a massive rover or a sprawling mansion to own a piece of the coast. By the mid-60s, the Newmarket factory was a hive of industrial pride, churning out thousands of units as the Sprite 400 became the Ford Cortina of the campsite, a reliable, democratic icon that turned every lay-by into a living room. By the mid-1960s, the Sprite 400 wasn't just a British success story, it was a global phenomenon. The factory in Newmarket had become a sprawling monument to British manufacturing, humming with the noise of riveting guns and the smell of fresh adhesive 24 hours a day. It was here that the people's caravan was being prepared for export to every corner of the earth. In 1966, this humble 10-foot box achieved the unthinkable, earning the Queen's Award for Industry. At its peak, A staggering 40% of everything Sam Alper built was being hitched to cars in Germany, Scandinavia, and even as far away as Australia. It was a time when the British caravan industry was the envy of the world, and the Sprite 400 was its flagship. On home soil, the 400 had become a staple of the national landscape, as common a sight as a red pillar box or a blue police phone box. It was the great social leveller. Whether it was parked on a windswept cliffside in the Hebrides or a packed holiday camp in Skegness, the Sprite 400 broke down class barriers. It was the first time a working-class father could look at the open road and see a destination, rather than just a journey to work. It was the era of the tugger, a community of like-minded souls who shared tools, stories, and stovetop tea in the shadow of their cream-coloured palaces. For a decade, the Sprite 400 was the wallpaper of our summers. It represented a golden window in time where the motorways were new, the fuel was cheap, and the promise of a fortnight by the sea was a birthright for every British family. But the sun doesn't stay out forever on a British summer, and as the mid-70s arrived, the golden era of the Sprite 400 began to darken. The first blow was a hammerfall to the entire nation, the 1973 oil crisis. Almost overnight, the carefree, let's see where the road takes us attitude was strangled by soaring petrol prices and fuel rations. The Sprite 400 was light, yes, but it was still an unaerodynamic box being dragged through the wind. Suddenly, that weekend dash to the coast wasn't a cheap getaway. It was an expensive luxury that many struggling families, hit by 3-day weeks and skyrocketing inflation, simply could no longer justify. The road, once a symbol of endless freedom, had become a place of economic anxiety. However, the second killer was more subtle. It was the shifting tide of British expectation. We were no longer the austere generation of the 50s. We were becoming a nation that craved mod cons. We wanted hot running water, integrated showers, and chemical toilets that didn't involve a midnight trek across a rain-soaked campsite with a torch in hand. The Sprite 400 was a masterpiece of 10-foot engineering, but it was a victim of its own dimensions. There was simply no room to cram in a bathroom and a boiler without destroying its soul, making it too heavy for the very small cars it was designed to serve. The no-frills charm that Sam Alper had championed was starting to feel, to a new generation of buyers, a little too much like roughing it. The final blow was the European invasion. From across the Channel came a new breed of caravan, sleek, stylish, and aerodynamic models from brands like Adria and Hobby. They looked like the future, while the boxy, honest Sprite 400 was starting to look like a relic from a black and white film. It was a classic generational shift. To the parents who had known the war, the Sprite was a miracle, but to their children, it was Grandad's Caravan. The tiny titan was being squeezed out of the market by a world that now valued comfort over character and European chic over British grit. The wallpaper of our summers was being stripped away piece by piece. The end didn't come with a celebratory sunset, but with the cold, quiet click of a factory gate being locked for the last time. By the early 1980s, the parent company, Caravans International, was bleeding. Hit by a global recession and a plummeting demand for small, basic tourers, the pride of Newmarket was on its knees. In 1982, the unthinkable happened. The empire Sam Alper had built collapsed into receivership. The original production line for the Sprite 400, which had hummed with life for 20 glorious years, finally ground to a halt. It was more than just a business failing. It was the death of a specific type of British industrial optimism. While the Sprite name survived and was eventually bought by the Swift Group, the 400, that tiny 10-foot hero, was consigned to the history books.